talk about. I'd like to thank Todd Gold with the cable, with Tanny, and Bob Puckett with the New York State Telecommunications Association. These two associations have been great in educating us about not only what their members, but also about the industry. We're geographers and mappers, and we're mapping broadband now, so we're learning a lot, and it's exciting. And one thing that's fairly new is now we had focused on mainly we had a residential focus of where availability is that could be served within 7 to 10 days. That was the NTIA definition of availability. But each state that got a grant has a lot of flexibility to do other things that are good for the state. And we're now working with Dave's office. We're mapping commercial fiber for economic development purposes. And we were able to get good data, as Dave mentioned, that we purchased, but it's missing pieces like ION and DANK and PrimeLink and Charter and Mid-Hudson, Mid-Hudson Cable, where they have significant fiber infrastructure that's not in this national data set that we bought. So I've been reaching out. I spoke with Jim Becker just a week ago, and I'm going to be reaching out to all of the commercial providers so that we can create that map, which will be just an excellent tool for economic development and for planning. In the interest of time, I took some screenshots. I want to focus on a few things about the mapping application. The URL is here. I've got some cards here. My URL is on my card to go to the website. I also want to say our office will gladly talk with anybody from any county office or town office in order to help them understand how to use the map or help their constituents use the map. We'll be glad to do that, so please take one of my cards, and we'd love to have so many calls that we have to queue them up. So we really want to leverage this map.
So what you're communicating is, it says Supervisor Andrews just said, I mean, they're going to actually be able to go into, say, for example, Claverick and get the latest information on what you have on mapping?
Yes. Yep. And when we update the map every 6 months. So we reach out to all the providers and ask, and we've done, this is the 6th time, we're in the outreach phase right now. We ask them to update the information on any new build out they had or any increase in speeds that they can offer. And then about a month after we get it all in, we update the public map.
Bob, just a quick question. Will the map include the speed of the coverage? In other words, not just that there's coverage, but
yes,
what type of coverage that's on the map?
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to mention it's a continuous, it's on the slide here, continuous improvement. The map, the federal grant said you will have a publicly accessible interactive map. That's about it. So we have the flexibility to do anything we want. We built the map, it's our map. If we get feedback from communities that could you do this or could you put this information on it, we can do that. We have people that are working on it, so we'd love to get those kind of comments. Here's the home page of the map, and let's learn this with this new version of PowerPoint. It's got some nice highlighting features here. If you just click anywhere on it, this is just an image. It'll drill you into the interactive map. You can, right from the home page, you can report an unserved address, and that's one of the things I wanted to focus on here, and I'll do it quickly. You can take a speed test. They'll tell you how fast your connection is. And if you're doing a project, if you're a student or a town needs the data that's underneath this map, you can actually download the raw data and use it yourself if you need it. And we'll help you use it and understand it. So here, right from the home page, you can type in any address and then just hit Find Broadband, and it'll come back, without even going to the map, it'll come back and tell you at that address what has been reported to us as the availability at that address. So I picked a local address here. I made these yesterday. This is information that's there now. It says Taconic Telephone is the wireline provider and the only wireline provider at that address. They use DSL technology, and they advertise speeds of download speeds between 3 to 6 megabits per second. If you want to know what the wireless options are there, you just click on we have tabs up here. You click on the wireless tab. There are 3 wireless providers that provide that, and that's your 3G level of mobile phone type of service, which can be used for the internet.
Hey Bob, this kind of illustrates the point that I was alluding to in my remarks. Can you go back a slide?
Sure.
See, you look at that range right there, and part of the challenge that I have is just educating my colleagues that even with the federal definition of high-speed broadband, we're one of the 55 districts that doesn't even hit that has more than 10% that doesn't have access to high-speed broadband. Part of the issue is that range encompasses not up to standard, and when we talk about the federal level, I mean the state. See that 3 to 6? That's part of the challenge that we're having. Because, I was able to get a floor vote on the House of Representatives, and, it was close. We won, but, it took 90 Republicans and 131 Democrats to overturn, I think, a decision that was not really the right one. And part of the issue I had was dealing with this. I had people tell me, oh, no, your district's got high-speed broadband, and, 99%. And I said, you need to come back with it. It ain't true. So, I appreciate what you're doing as far as giving fidelity to this, but that, as you focus your work, we're going to look to improve standards as we go along, but that's helpful when I can show a red line that we're not even hitting the federal standard of high-speed broadband.
And so with more discrete measures, is that what, rather than the range, is that?
Well, it's good you have the range, and we appreciate very much the transparency of it, but I just have to be able to, and I was able to do it by getting access to some of my colleagues here today, but I went immediately to other information sources to be able to show my colleagues that the information you're getting from this one organization is not right. But as we look to try to get a common operating picture, putting up the standard in relation to what a district or an area has in terms of high-speed broadband, that's part of the challenge in the busy life of lawmakers is sorting through fact versus something that I think is not a fact. And part of the challenge that we're dealing with is this definitional, as I pointed out in my opening remark, but also then ground truth in relation to the facts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and we have not been happy with the fact that the NTIA spec, they have a definition, and they're the ones that fund the program. We have to do. Our first responsibility is to deliver the data to them so they can roll it up for a national map. They have these ranges, and they have a definition which is much lower than their sister organization, the FCC, who does the 4.1. And so, as Dave mentioned earlier, so we have to deal with that. We have to collect the data in these ranges. The providers have agreed to provide it in that. But for like the New York State grant program that the details are going to come out soon, we went above this range here. So 6 to 10 is the next range, so that we don't, it doesn't count that 3, that's not going to cut it, that's not going to be that 4.1, so we went the next level up. It would have been great if we could have if we knew where the 4 line was,
right.
But the data doesn't have it, so we're saying, well, not only let's go up, not only will it cut out some of the lower speeds that we don't want to kind of obfuscate the problem, but also keep us ahead of the curve, as Dave was saying. So hopefully.
Are the speed tests linked to is there an actual speed? Because the advertised speed I know in Hudson is not the speed. And I would think that if you did take the speed test, it should or do you collect that data? What the speed test comes out?
Yes.
And for that specific location?
Correct.
Oh, great.
The speed test is an academic tool that's out there that will tell you at that time when you're going out and testing it what speeds you're getting. There's a lot of things involved with what your speed, and it's not just what you're paying for or what's advertised, but it will tell you how fast is it coming down to my computer.
But is it telling the Mac? Do you collect the data?
We put just where speed tests were taken. The collection, for confidentiality reasons, we don't have the discrete speeds at that, but we show where the tests are taken.
Okay.
And if we need to use that data for some type of analysis, we could do that.
Okay.
One more question. In your range from 3 to 6, does that mean that that particular address has the capability of purchasing a 6 megabit per second connection, or that for that entire area is 3 to 6?
It's more of an area with this, and I'm not an expert, but I've learned a lot. The DSL technology, the speed that can be delivered depends on how close your home or business is from a switch, from a piece of equipment, a DSLAM. So if you live around the corner from where that DSLAM is, you might be able to get the 6. But if you live on the far reaches of, say, 15,000 feet away from that piece of equipment, then you might only be able to get the 3.
Well, I'm talking in terms of advertised packages, right? If I live in that address and I can get the 6, then that provider shouldn't offer me a 6 megabit per second package, right? So what I would like to know is how, what the level of precision is in terms of the packages that then people will be able to purchase given any given address.
It's not very precise, but it gives you an idea, a relative, is there megabit speeds, is there 50 meg, is there DSL from 3 to 6, and then this is a link here that will go right out to Connect Telephone's website. You can get their customer service phone number, and they can typically tell you what you can get at your location. Because they'll know how far away you are from their equipment, and they say, we can only deliver 3 there, or maybe we can only deliver 2 meg. But this gives you a starting place.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just to be clear, that 3 to 6 is actually what Taconic Telephone is reporting for that address, right?
Right.
I mean, so it is the sales.
Right, it's an advertised speed as opposed to what you would get, what you could get physically, and then also you have to take into account your equipment in your own
To
home.
be clear, but that's where that number comes from. It doesn't come from actual speeds, it comes from what
Right, what packages do you offer at that location? And we also list the satellite options, which it's these same 3 satellite providers. They're almost everywhere in the state. It's not great if you're, like Dave was talking about, cost-wise and the amount of bandwidth, but it is an option, and that we want to make people aware of.
But are there options like over 1 megabyte per second? I mean, I've been looking at that, they're not that fast at all.
No, it would be it's an option for residential use in some cases. The technology is improving though, so it may be a better option in the future.
Are sort of fixed point wireless ISPs, WISPs, included in this database?
They are. The ones that we know about and have been able to get to participate, they're typically very small companies. But we have, to our knowledge, we have every telco and every cable company and fiber provider, and we have, I think, about half of the fixed wireless, and we're trying to get them all, because they're a real solution to some of the remote areas that wireline just isn't there.
And the secondary question, is there a way to sort the data to get peering points, local peering points, a map of where the telco hotels are?
We're collecting that information now with the fiber, the commercial fiber map that we're building. Points of presence, which include carrier hotels. We'll have that soon, within the next 6 months.
Bob, I have a question with regard to where it says up there, click above to confirm or report these results. So is that a feature that if you clicked in that area, if you didn't feel that you were receiving accurate information, it feeds back to you?
Yes.
So that the constituent can say, this is what's reported on your map, but I don't necessarily get that to my home?
Yes.
And then you would actually physically get that answer?
We would, and we would share that with the providers that we know would be in that area, and try to use that to make the map more accurate. Maybe let the providers know that a certain area that their advertised services might not be really attainable. So then down here, if you just, so I was just showing you what you can do from the home, the home page. The interactive map, you say show on map, click that button or click up here, and then it will drill down into the map. I don't know how the contrast is there, but so this is the census block. This information, the federal program is at the census block level. That's not ideal, but it does give us a starting point. So that address falls within this census block, and within that census block, again, Taconic Telephone provides DSL service, at least to some of the homes. In this case, it might be all, but there are places where the census block is only partially served. There might even be a main road that runs along that census block, and some of the more remote part of that census block isn't served. But somewhere in there is reported service there.
So, for example, at 12, they may have, because I use this when folks call in and they tell me they don't have internet access. So that's, and they'll say, my neighbor has it, but I don't have it. So they might be in that last mile and they're in this red zone. So when it comes up on the map and I see a red area, they could be, even though it might be saying something like Taconic on the side there, they're technically not getting service.
That can be the case, and it is often the case. If you picture a road where the houses are, here's one road and here's another in that census block, and there's a cluster of houses on this end, and then you go out this way and there's like 2 houses over the next mile. Well, for cable, that's not viable, and it may be further away from the DSL switch. So it wouldn't make this information wrong, but no, it's not for that person. They're going to see, oh, it says I have it, I don't. Well, that's why.
It could understate the 4%, though. That's the case. That's
yeah.
what
We try our best to discount those statistics in order to, because we know some of the blocks are partially served, so we put a multiplier on it to downgrade it a little bit. That they're not perfect numbers, but we do try to take that into account. We fed Dave the numbers like 700,000 households. That comes from this data that we're collecting in demographic census data. So we're trying to factor that in because we don't want to understate the problem, but we still may be understating the problem, and we'll keep working at it until we get the numbers as accurate as possible. And feedback
So I was going to say, the
folks will help us
response,
with that.
so that constituent's response on there would benefit you for them to report, I'm at such and such address and I don't get it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to show in my last couple
Well,
of
and I'm
slides.
concerned about the next 4 to 5 weeks when our applications go in, how these are going to be stored.
That's part of it, Congressman, is that the data that we're getting from the regional councils is going to be fed back into the map, and we're going to correct the map or change the map based on the validation in those areas. So it's not going to disqualify an application if it's showing it's being covered in that area, and the areas know it's not. It's actually going to be changing that data and making it more accurate.
So this map will be used as one of the tools to evaluate. But if there's a discrepancy, then we'll ask, we'll use that information to make the map better. So here, I'll pick up the pace a little bit, but here's a more remote address within the county. I fished around for something and put this one in yesterday. So if you search for that, it'll bring you, here's a much larger census block, and you can see that with the contrast. But Bolt Road runs off of another road. Neither one of them are all that. They're both rural. It's in the Hudson zip code. It's on the outskirts. And so this block says it's served, and here's the wireless providers. But let's say it's not served. If you look, I went to the aerial photography, which you can do with the application. And this house is that condition where look how far away it is from a main road, and that may not be served with wireline at all. So if you want to report that, you can just click this down here, report an unserved address. You can also go right from the home page to do that. And then you type in information. You need to put in what you're reporting, whether a wireline or a wireless, or both. It'll take 2 check marks if you get neither. And then you have to put in an address so that we can geocode that and put it on the map. The other stuff is optional, but we recommend that you give us your name. If you give us your name, give us your phone number or your email address, we will contact every single person. In fact, Tom Frazier is here with me today. He's a member of my team. And Tom is our outreach person. He personally will call you up and hear about your situation. Tom lives in Columbia County, he lives in Chatham. And you know, he's got a great interest in Columbia County having better broadband. So it's not just a black box that it goes into. If you give us information to reach back to you, we'll do that. And then we'll share this with the provider. So you fill that in, you hit the submit button, and it asks you, is this the correct location? If it wasn't, you could actually move this pin. You could say no, and it'll let you move the pin. And then if it's yes, just thanks you. And then it puts a dot on the map. Over here, we have a lot of different layers that you can turn on. Lots, more than I had time to talk about today. But under public feedback, if you check wireline or wireless, it'll show you all of the reports we've got so far, including the one you did 20 seconds ago. And so this one I just did, I don't know that, I did this last night, and we're going to take it out of the database. But this is the real reports that we've got from that same area. And you can see that we've got some clusters. And that's what we want. We want when the application comes in for saying this is unserved, if it conflicts with what we've got from providers, go, well, look at it. There's a preponderance of people say they don't get it. You know, they probably don't get it. So it's a good tool, and we really want people to take advantage. If we get tens of thousands of these reports, it'll be very valuable information to help us offset that bias, that upward bias of availability.
Excuse me, so this is all up and running. If all the supervisors who are here got blasts out to their people, their community, and said, go on this, you know, put yourself right in and get us this information as soon as possible, that would help us.
Please do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do that.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, because we are, if we're talking about this short window until the funding on of the Economic Development Councils will be available, this is an opportunity to have real material to work with and help the congressman with his time to make his cases at the federal level. Several cases. That's our dream, that it'll get heavily used and we'll have a great set of data. So here is my last slide. I just overlaid the red here is one of our layers you can turn on under no service maps. This is the no wireline. So here, these red areas are what we know to be unserved based on the absence of any provider reporting that they cover it. These are the things, we want to make these more accurate. We understand, you know, like maybe right here, this ought to be red. Well, if we get the information in, then we will adjust this so that the unserved areas, which is really what we're talking about trying to work on, that we get that as accurate as possible, then the statistics will be more accurate, and it'll just be good. And we think the citizens using, the residents using these things, and businesses will help.
Bob, I got maybe a silly question here, but wouldn't this require access to be able to use this map? So I have a real concern that we're way off on the 4%, because you know, most people that aren't served are going to have no clue that this exists. So how do we help them understand that it's out there and get the word out to them?
They can go to the library and do this at work. I know even at the state, a certain amount of personal use of it, you know, in your lunchtime is an okay thing to do. Or their sister's house. You don't have to be at your house in order to report this. You just put your address in. So if they can get access somewhere else, I realize that, you know, they don't. But
it's true that anybody can report. So if somebody calls us and says that we can actually do it for them, so
Yeah.
they don't actually have.
No, you know, I know, I get that part, Rob. I'm just saying that we could probably do a great service to the community as far as kind of publicizing that, hey, this is out there. Because I would bet that most people have no clue.
And when folks call into our office, Bob Puckett had shared this with me a while ago, I've been doing that entry. I get on when they call, I figure it out, I figure it out, and then I put the information in, because they're telling me they can't, they can't do it.
Right.
That's why they're calling me.
Right, I would just say,
So any office that has the availability.
Right, and I would
should put
urge
it in
any of
for
the
both.
town newsletters that are going out to put that blurb in there, if they're not already doing it.
Newspapers and to the press, local press and stuff.
But it would behoove us in some ways, the county, to have some place to report it in, like that you call and say, beyond the.
We have a phone number too. I don't have it on here, but please take one of my cards, see Tom, he'll give you the phone number. Tom answers that phone. It's not an answer machine or a black hole. If they can call us and we'll put it in for them, or they can call your office and we'll put it in.
Is your data recorded, adopted automatically by the software? Does when data is sent to you, is it automatically incorporated by the software, or do you have someone in between who?
No, these points go immediately. It figures it out, puts them right on there, and then we'll work with it to kind of vet that. We'll give them to the providers, say here's what we got this quarter. Here's what came in.
Hey, Kevin, right now we're using a myriad of ways to input information here. The board may want to think about strategy, sort of getting at what Robin's saying, we sort of designate a lead for this within the board.
I want to offer something else. This is great. If you get to spread the word, that's why we built this piece of functionality in here. But we also, if there are other projects at the county level or at a municipal level where we're mappers, and we've got the knowledge, we've got the tools, we've got staff, we've got a grant, we've got people to map. What we don't have is some of the on-the-ground information that you guys and people
Well,
in the
one
county.
other thing too, this is a lot towards expansion, which is a major effort in both parts, but also another issue is reliability. Do you have the capacity within the mapping to sort of pick up trends and issues of reliability? Or is that something between what you're doing and, you know what I'm saying?
Quality service and that type of issues, yeah. We haven't, and that's some of the stuff that we're looking at for our projects. The program office is actually getting that data in there, looking at the FCC data that's out there and seeing exactly those trends as well. But that's not currently part of the mapping that we're doing at Beverly.
Question regarding Hollowville there, Dave Finger with Ed Hudson. We do have service in Hollowville. So have these people contacted you only, or have they contacted us?
Well, as we discussed before, I think you're starting to work with this. This is fairly new information coming in to us. We're going to give it to you. And as we've talked in the past, you want to talk to people, not let some map decide whether or not you can provide service. So this is a starting point. Then your contact information is here. Or if they give us their names and phone numbers, when we share that information, we reach out to them.
Kevin, what I recommend, I just missed one thing, Mr. Finger, is that what I recommend is that there's the county talk about this and how approaches to make sure that there is communication going on, because clearly an individual saying, I don't have access, and you want to be not just collecting information, but troubleshooting and really trying to bring it forward. And so making sure that there's a way to track those kind of inputs and calls so that, in fact, Mid-Hudson Cable gets an opportunity to either go out to the house or make a call or something like that.
We do that now, Congressman. We have a system in-house to do this. So if the customer will contact us, or you'll contact us, or the county will contact us, we do. We handle these on a case-by-case basis. A lot of times people will say, I have no service. And the service may be available on the road, but they have a driveway that's 1,000 feet long, okay? So they're referring to that. Every case is different, and we like to look at it individually.
Yeah, and we'll by us giving you that information, and hopefully with phone numbers or email addresses, names, then you'll be able to do that. And I got to tell one story. This isn't more from Columbia County, but Frontier Communications, they got a big footprint in the state for DSL, and someone contacted us, and we gave them that information. Well, it turns out that their customer service rep, the information that was available to them was wrong. And for years, this person thought they couldn't get DSL service at their house. When we went back to Frontier and said, hey, the